The deuce is loose. How y'all doing? Deuce Dogwood back. Not doing a retro show. Not doing a retro show. It's been a long time since I posted any new content on this channel. Life. But there are new retro shows on the way. We, I believe, are still stuck playing the NES games of 1988. Soon, real soon, we'll get back to that. But in the meantime, I thought it'd be a great idea to catch up on your comments. I do read every video comment. I might not reply to everyone, but I do try to do a thumbs up or a heart or whatever to acknowledge that I read it. But I do read every comment, and I appreciate all the support. I thank you all for subscribing and viewing. And I thank you all for being patient. My videos, when I do make them, they're pretty frequent. It's just not consistent. I hope to change that starting now. I'm posting more shorts. I'm going to be making more retro shows. We got to get through this NES library so we can move on to either the Game Boy or SNES or the Sega. We got a whole lot of games to play. Next time, we're going to go over some comments in this video from Is Tennis for the NES Worth Playing Today? No, it's not. You don't have to watch the video. I just told you. Brian Decker says, I definitely get that playing on level 1 can feel tedious. It is deliberately paced. Levels 2 through 4 are the sweet spot for me to balance pace of play and difficulty. Level 5 is a tennis playing cyborg hellbent on destroying the universe with his rocket-powered tennis balls. Once you get a feel for which type of shot with what timing will work best in different situations, it can be pretty fun and rewarding. I've never found a more serious tennis game that I really like, though. Adding complexity or realism muddles the interface a little bit. I tend towards the simpler or cartoony, like Mario Tennis. I think the only other tennis video game I enjoyed was on the PlayStation 2, Hot Shots Tennis. I think that's what that was. Hot Shots Tennis? Yeah. But as a whole, or maybe Wii Tennis. Was there a tennis game for the Wii, like in the Wii Sports bundle thingy? But for that one, all you did was swing. I think you didn't really play tennis. But yeah, I think the problem with a lot of these early tennis video games is that they're basically Pong. And I don't like Pong. If I wanted to play Pong, I would play Pong, not tennis for the NES. But thanks, Brian Decker, for your comment. Is Clue Clue Land for the NES worth playing today? Brian Decker. It has a steep learning curve. But if you can manage to get the controls down, it really lends itself to that just one more try type of gaming. A lot of early 80s arcade games have a real ability to create a delightfully stressful feeling. So when you finally beat a level, you feel a massive relief. Clue Clue Land has that in spades. It's even more chaotic with 2 players. That's probably true. A lot of these early video games that have a 2-player feature, they are funner with 2 players because that's probably how they were meant to be played. These arcade games, the arcade versions, they're meant to munch quarters. They're going to steal your money. They're not going to be easy to play. Clue Clue Land. Let me go to. So I released this video as a short. Got a great response. But one of the comments was, oops. Good God, the controls are such a pain. Thank you, LV Biggs. Yeah. The controls are awful. Basically, your character does not stop moving until it hits the wall, or you push what direction you want the character to go in. So if your character's going up the screen and you want them to turn right, you'll push right, and they'll eventually go right. Now, if they're going right, so they'll be going across the screen, I guess, from your point of view this way. If you want them to go left, you have to push down. Left doesn't do anything, if I remember correctly. I hate that control scheme. And I hate Clue Clue Land. Where are we? Is Wrecking Crew for the NES worth playing today? Spoiler, yeah. It's one of the better launch titles. And in my description, I write, Wrecking Crew is just plain fun. It is. And it's fun with one player. It's probably more fun with two players. Brian Decker agreed. So many levels, so many secrets. It's really a deep game that doesn't really tell you how to go about things. You have to figure it out for yourself. Jose Cuevas says, cool. Thank you. Yeah, Wrecking Crew, it's fun. However, it gets to a point where I think the game cheats. So, I need to get a second player. Because I'm guessing two-player is, they're on the screen at the same time, I hope. It'd be kind of silly if that's not the case. So, Stack Up. Is Stack Up for the NES worth playing today? It's a Rob game. Brian Decker, as a Rab and Stack Up owner, I have a hard time even really classifying this one as a game. It's a glorified tech demo in which you manipulate the robot, which in turn manipulates 5 colored blocks. The software has no way of knowing if you've actually accomplished what you set out to do, as it keeps no internal state of the block's position at all. Once you've got it, you push a button, get awarded points, move on to the next challenge. I still need to talk to someone to try and two-player bingo with me. Yeah, Stack Up... I see that point of it being a tech demo. I know Rob bombed, but I'm surprised that Nintendo didn't revisit the gimmick and kind of hone it. Maybe not, during the SNES days, but maybe during the Nintendo 64 days. I think the technology was there to make it more smart. Plus, Rob looked cool. Do I have a picture of Rob? Not Rob. Well, I do have a picture of Rob. He's bouncy. See if you can see him. There he is in the lower left. Got a GIF. That's Rob. Okay, you can stop playing. The best NES launch titles. Brian Decker. I'm surprised you didn't tackle the Zapper games in the series. Obviously, you can't play them as intended without the right kind of TV, etc. That's so true. But you can still get a feel for how they work with an emulator and mouse. Would something like Duck Hunt be on your best list? I was never a big fan of those games, but I know that a lot of people are. And then you mention your top four. Let me mention the Zapper games. I was going to make a Zapper game video. I just never did. And there's no reason why I didn't. I just slipped my mind. I would love to make a Zapper video. Matter of fact, I feel like I had a hair. Matter of fact, I think after I finish the NES library, I'll make that video. So that should be fun. I mean, yeah, using a mouse, you're not shooting or anything, but it could be fun. Brian has a top 4 NES launch title list of his own. Let's go bottom to top. Number 4, Clue Land. You're entitled to your opinion. 3, Wrecking Crew. 2, Tennis. 1, Super Mario Brothers. He goes on to say, I feel like there's enough going in most of the launch titles to get some enjoyment out of them, especially when you have a second player handy. When viewed in the context of whether that's worth it today, the answer for most is probably no. That's true of, I would say, the majority of these old video games. They're not worth playing today. And those that are the classics that you're already familiar with. So I'm probably not telling you anything new when I say Super Mario Brothers is worth playing today. Do I have... What else was on that list? 10-Yard Fight. Excite Bike. Pinball. Yeah, these are all games that they work, 1 player or 2 player. Yeah, so thank you, Brian. Yeah, now I'm excited about making a Zapper video. And then we could do the Super Scope and... Can't get ahead of myself. We still got to get through the games of 1988. The worst NES launch titles. Brian, his bottom stack. Okay, so let's go bottom to top. Soccer. Yeah, I don't like the NES soccer game. I don't like any soccer. Wild Gunman, that's a Zapper game. So I did not review it in this video. And Brian's bottom launch title, Stack Up. What's mine? Clue Land. Yeah, I just don't like Clue Land. Is tag team wrestling for the NES worth playing today? Tag team wrestling. I used to love wrestling. I even say this in these videos when I talk about the wrestling games. I remember renting tag team wrestling. And that was a waste of $2 or $3. It came with like the manual or the instructions on like a sticker on the case. Could barely read it. Couldn't figure out what to do. Play this game, 20, 30 years later or whatever. Still can't figure it out with the manual. And when I do figure it out, it's just not fun. Brian Decker, menu-driven fighting games, never a good idea. Amen. Amen. Maybe there could be some fun with a 2-player mode when you're both struggling with the same silly controls. I've never thought to try it. Its biggest problem is that it was almost immediately surpassed by Nintendo's own wrestling offering. If tag team wrestling was a straight up button masher, A to punch, B to kick, do them both and body slam or drop kick or whatever. Basic? Yes. Playable? Yes. Tag team wrestling? It's playable, but I don't know why you would try. And it pains me. Because, for the time, this was 80, I think 86, the NES version of this came out. It's not a bad looking game. I mean, par for the course. Is Chubby Cherub for the NES worth playing today? Brian Decker, sometimes you just have to love a bunch of dogs to death. Maybe there's an alternate reality where Super Mario Brothers never came to be. In that universe, this game was probably a big seller. I actually think the flying walking modes and the constantly depleting power meter are interesting mechanics, but it just doesn't use its limited supply of game elements in an interesting enough way to make them pay off. God, can you imagine an alternate reality where Super Mario Brothers, let's just say Super Mario Brothers bombed, but Chubby Cherub did not? Well, actually, I don't know if Chubby Cherub bombed or not. Um, just imagine if this was the game that revolutionized gaming. Can you imagine that? That's just weird. And Brian mentioned the mechanic of walking and flying. I like that mechanic. I don't like the depleting power. I guess when the character is in the air, I can understand it, but I don't know if the power depletes when he walks. I don't like that. Especially in a game that also has a timer. You're timed in addition to losing power. Don't like that mechanic. I like the walking and flying. I like that. I yeah, just I logically I understand losing power. Like in Adventure Island, I get it. I just don't like it. The games are hard enough on their own, and they're gonna add to the difficulty, like make the game harder to play. Don't give me a handicap or a disadvantage. Is Popeye for the NES worth playing today? Corey Andrews, hey, at least this game is better than its recent 3D reimagining on the Nintendo Switch. I have this on my NES and I had it on a Commodore 64 when I was a kid. This game is just bad. And a 3D reimagining? Like, is it a 3D adventure game or is it these stages in a 3D setting? I don't care enough to research it. I don't like this game. And to think this was, I believe, a pack-in game. Yep. One of the 3 launch games for the family computer, I believe in Europe or Japan, maybe both. I don't know. If this was my introduction to the NES, I'm not sure I would venture further into the library of games. Moving on from the NES, so Atari 26, I kind of went backwards. I had a format change in the channel. Instead of doing these short reviews, I streamed these retro shows and then just edited videos from that. Now, currently, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just making the videos straight up. I'm not streaming. We'll see if that makes video production easier, faster. Is basketball for the Atari 2600 worth playing today? Wes Porter says answer, yes, for like 2 minutes. You're right. Mike Hit, that was an intense game. LOL, you had a shot there down by 2, but the computer just don't miss. Unexpectedly entertaining. Thank you much. Actually, basketball, one of the better Atari 2600 games. I wonder if 2 players can play this at the same time or if that'll make the Atari 2600 blow up. Bowling. Is bowling for the Atari 2600 worth playing? RetroArch X. Let's be honest, Atari games, with some exceptions, in these days are too boring. They were okay when I was a little boy, but now it's fun for 5 minutes, to be optimistic. That's true. Again, these retro games, especially these Atari 2600 games, they are so primitive. I mean, look at this. You're just lining up a shot and just throwing it. Oh. They're dots and lines. Literally. Is Missile Command for the Atari 2600 worth playing today? Just imagine 24/3. Gosh, how I begged and did a paper route and took cans back for a nickel. Pooled money with my brother and sister to get this game. Wow. I'm sorry. And I'm sure this game probably went for $29.99, maybe. I feel sorry for anybody who paid for these games when they first came out. Because you're paying $20, $30. And they're barely worth it when they're free. Is Mario Brothers for the Atari 2600 worth playing? Hack on Anderson. Great video. Thank you. Short and sweet. Is Solomon's Key for the NES worth playing today? Zero the 14th says, I was expecting more of a straight up platformer, not a puzzle type game. Very interesting. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Yeah, Solomon's Key. I think I would enjoy this game more if it didn't have the timer, the life timer. Let me figure things out at my pace. So, yeah, I can't recommend this game. This is Deuce Dogwood's Retro Show, NES Games of 87. This is when I played through The Legend of Zelda. Epic Legend Quest writes, you're pretty good, man. This game was tough back in the day. Good vid. I used a walkthrough. Yeah, no shame. Used a walkthrough. Metroid, I played with a walkthrough. Zero to 14 says, such a great game. Creates theme. Used to scare me so much as a kid, but I love it now. Used to get so lost in the pre-internet days that I had to make my own maps for this. Keep up the great work. Thank you. Again, I used a walkthrough. I reached the end of the game, though, and I couldn't beat it, and I just gave up. So I plugged in some Game Genie cheat codes and beat it that way. Again, no shame. I don't care. Metroid has some great atmosphere and some great music. I think that's a plus of the game. I think for me, that's what I remember from the game is the atmosphere and the music. Let's see if this has some music. I don't know if that you can pick that up. I obviously looked really enthused playing this. I can't see that probably, but let's move on. The Mike Tyson's Punch Out for the NES worth playing today. The Bad Guy wrote, just found your channel, man. Good stuff. I love the NES and do a bunch of content on it myself. I love revisiting some of the games I used to play. Some of them hold up really well. Mike Tyson's Punch Out is definitely one of them. Just subbed, man. Thank you, The Bad Guy. Candlepot also says, good video. I love your channel. Keep it up. Thank you. Punch Out does hold up. It's so basic and I don't want to say primitive, but it's basic. Has basic gameplay, a good idea. It's kind of timeless. It's kind of like Super Mario Brothers. With that said, it gets old. It's a pattern game. You figure out the pattern, you play according to that, and you win. And the pattern doesn't change. Not a fan of games like that. But I still like Punch Out once in a while. From one classic to another, is Mega Man for the NES worth playing today? 0 to the 14th. This game is a mixed bag for me. I like it, but I don't love it. That Rob, though, I love that. So he's referring to the Rob GIF. I have a love-hate relationship with the Mega Man series. These games are just too hard, or I just suck too much. I love the idea of choosing your own stage, tackling the bosses in an optimal order, the cartoony style, the music, the graphics. I love it. I just don't love playing these games. RBI Baseball, the All-Star Game. I got my butt kicked, I believe. Shawnaroo. My brother and I played this a ton when we were kids. With an NES Advantage controller and his joystick, I could make pitches move a pretty ridiculous amount. KPK33X says, freshman year of college playing in the dorm. If you gave up a home run, you took a shot. That's pretty... I like that game. BW Redder, I still don't get why people like the first one more than the sequels. I think 2 is better in every way. I'll eventually find out when I get to that game. So, RBI Baseball. I was more of a Baseball Stars type of guy. So there you have it. I didn't read every comment on this video. But again, I do read all the comments and I try to reply or give a thumbs up or whatever. Yeah. Great support, guys. I love it. So like I said at the beginning of the video, more retro shows to come. Eventually, we'll get through the NES game library and move on to Sega or TurboGrafx or something else. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.